What, another one of his wives die off or something?
No, I think he broke up with his slightly younger wife, so he's free at like 77.
All of his wives are like 30 years younger than him, so they're not going to die. He'd be the one to die.
The old dog 86 though has another one on here, and this is the last one from the old dog 86. Who is the most overrated wrestler of all time? This is a fucking great conversation right here, because you know. It's easy to fucking say John Cena.
Yeah, it is.
That's the truth. That is the goddamn fucking truth.
Yeah, it's pretty goddamn easy, I'll be honest.
Because, and the thing is, we were bitching about John Cena fucking 10 goddamn years ago. But he was popular then. People were cheering for him then. Kids liked him then. He can go to his hometown and get booed now. And he's still a babyface. I mean, come on.
I'll throw out a couple of people that I hate that have been or are really, really popular. Randy Orton. I fucking hate Randy Orton. Right. Kevin Nash. I never thought Kevin Nash had 4 fucking moves, and he acts like he was the greatest thing ever. I'll even say this: Sting. I don't even think Sting was that good of a fucking wrestler, but he was always over.
Sting, if he was in the ring with somebody that could look after him, they could have good matches. But
Sting was always one of those motherfuckers that did the same thing, every match. He had 5 moves, he did them exactly the same order.
Right.
Kind of like Bret Hart, except with less panache.
I'll tell you another one too, man. That's there right now, Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah, he sucks.
They give him a top, he's on the top of the card all the time. And it's like the X-Pac heat, man. Nobody gives a shit. They boo him because they want him to fucking leave.
That's the one. I've every time I see him on the screen, I just do something else. I don't care about Del Rio at all. That he does nothing that impresses me or entertains me. I just I don't need to watch this guy. And they've done giving him the title, multiple times. I mean, how many times do you have to give it to him? And no one cares whether he wins or loses. I mean, they care if he loses it, but they don't really care if he wins it.
Yeah. I definitely, when it comes to Alberto Del Rio, I guess it's just because he's like a Spaniard, and they're out for, they want to market to different countries and stuff. I would guess that's the only reason he's...
I'll tell you another one, though. Nobody's brought up is fucking Goldberg.
Yeah.
He's got to be the most overrated motherfucker of all time.
The difference is, though, Goldberg was fucking over. That's the difference between him and John Cena. It's the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Even though I think, John Cena...
I think John Cena's a little bit better.
John Cena's, a little bit better than Goldberg. But John Cena... The thing about John Cena is, and I think it's a problem with politics, too, is they're just scared to death to give the reins to anybody else for some reason. Because they've had opportunity after opportunity, you can go back and think of all the fuckers they fucked up. Look at Ryback, man. I know he sucked, but they could have let him go with it for a while. They could have let CM Punk go with it. They could still let Daniel Bryan go with it, but they're not fucking going to, I did hear a rumor though that Bray Wyatt and John Cena is going to be the match for WrestleMania, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? How's that going to work?
He's going to get Sister Abigail. He's going to get that.
I guess.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
Isn't that professional as fuck?
That is, but I love hearing about Ryback. I ain't heard anything about that guy in forever.
That was back in the day when people gave a damn about Ryback. Well,
when was that? What year was that?
That was 2013, maybe.
I was thinking because he's been threatening to sue WWE now for about 5 years.
Yeah, he's not wrestling anywhere right now either.
I thought he went to AEW. Did he not go?
No, I don't think he's. So we're all the way live, man. That's professional as it gets right there. High tech, redneck. Uncle Bill, you got a toboggan on.
I got my boggy on.
Vestron Video.
You know who I got this from? Take a guess.
Michael Slipcase Felcher.
That's right. That some bitch got it for free and then sold it to me on an auction. Because he was working on the Vestron titles.
That's a nice looking boggin. Can't get any better than that. Is that new or is that like old school?
I've had this. I mean, I honestly don't know how old it is. I've had it for a couple of years, but I think it has to be kind of new. I think it came out when they were doing the new Vestron Blu-rays, and he was working on those. I think that's when he got it.
Yeah. So
now I don't know. I don't know if they had those made then, or if this is something that they just gave him that they had laying around. I have no idea.
Yeah, it looks kind of newer. Like you wouldn't think that they would have had that made back in the 80s, but maybe. Who knows?
I don't think these kind of boggies were that popular back in the 80s like this. Maybe they were. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of like, well, the difference between the knit hat and the toboggan is the toboggan has the part you curl up, right?
Yeah, this has got the curled up.
Oh, okay. So it is a toboggan.
Yeah, it's a boggy. I call them boggies.
Okay.
Or boglins.
Boglins are coming back, and I already pre-ordered mine.
I can't believe that, man.
New boglins.
You sent me that, and I'm like, they really will make anything. Like remake.
Yeah, well,
anything.
I mean, the guy's going full steam ahead. The guy that's making the boglins, he's remaking all of them. So, but yeah, tonight's the night, Uncle Bill. We've hopped this up about 3 days. That's good for us. You know, we was originally going to do this on Wednesday, but technical issues, you know, some of that snow's melted and internet and power and everything is back on here in Eastern Kentucky. So we're ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I actually didn't have internet for like 2 or 3 days there, thanks to the snow ice storm of 2021.
Yeah, I think throughout next week at least, our weather is going to be a little bit warmer, so we don't have to worry about it for at least a week.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in the 50s, I think. Thank God.
Yeah. So, but tonight, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is something I've been thinking about doing for a long time because I got back into watching these movies. I don't know if you do this, but I do this like every now and then. I'll get back into a particular franchise that like I haven't watched in years or even thought about in years, and then I'll go through every movie, and in this case watch like the first 3 a couple of times.
Really?
Yeah, not so much the 4th one. No
well,
sense in that.
I mean, we'll talk about all of them. I don't know how in depth we're going to get on all of them, but yeah, I mean, the 4th one in particular, I definitely wanted to rewatch it because I had only seen it the one time when it was 2011. So it's 10 years old. That movie is at this point. And I really didn't recall anything about it. I didn't really remember anything about it. To be honest with you, I was getting the plot line with Sydney confused with the 3rd movie, where she was kind of like a recluse and she was living up in a ranch or whatever. I was thinking that was part 4. Like that aspect of it was in part 4, but no. We'll get into it.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, like all of the plot lines of Sydney, I get confused after part 1. Like what she's doing in part 2, 3, or 4, it's all kind of like mixes together.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about this today. I mean, honestly, looking back at it, I think it would have been better had they just killed Sydney off in like the 2nd one or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like they did Adrian King and just started with a new group.
Yeah, I mean, it probably would have been because it kind of runs its course through the sequels, but
we got some angry people on here. Angry Popcorn TV. He even says that Scream 2 sucks ass.
God damn, man, that's hardcore.
Yeah.
It doesn't, but I mean, that's one opinion.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad. So Suspiria Night is requesting the Cursed retrospective. That's coming next week. That's what we're doing next week.
Listen, no joke though. That movie has like a ton of stories behind it that would be pretty cool to get into about how much bullshit went on behind the scenes of that movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but Rick Baker was attached to that movie at one point in time.
There was all kinds of people attached to that movie at one time.
He was supposed to make the werewolf transformations in that movie.
Isn't that one of those movies too where there's different cuts of it? So there was a different version of it that was completed for like a year, and then the studio didn't like it, and then they just kind of refilmed a lot of stuff with a different cast. And I mean, there's all kinds of, that would be an interesting topic to discuss. I mean, just the history of that movie, and with technology the way it is now, I mean, why not bring that movie out, the original version of the movie? I mean, hell, it'd be something to see if it exists.
What a great name for that movie too, considering everything that happened to it. It really truly was cursed.
Yeah, it was the modern day Poltergeist. Wes Craven's career around this time was interesting too, because this was after Scream 3. He did people forget about these movies. Cursed, Red Eye was another one that he did. Unfortunately, he did My Soul to Take as well.
God, I forgot about that one.
That was the dead pit on the road that was stolen from the fans too. You remember that?
Was that when we got the computer stuff?
That was when we got the camera. And then, I don't know, there was a bunch of shit that was stolen from your vehicle, the Strand Twin in Prestonsburg.
Apparently, that was a really common thing, too, I found out later on.
Yeah.
Like, people that would park out there beside the bank and stuff, they would just break into their cars.
Yeah. So.
That was nice. That was nice of them. They stole my damn briefcase and all my... when I was teaching, I remember that. Because I had to call and be like, well, they stole all of my files and the charts and everything for people that were in my class.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that was just, I don't know, that pissed me off to no end. And I got the impression the entire time that that cop was like, yeah, you're probably not going to see it again. Sorry.
That's exactly what he said too.
Yeah.
He was like, well, you're kind of screwed, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, when you rely on the Prestonsburg PD, the funding for their department is probably not as good as it once was.
No.
So, anyway, Scream. That's what we're here for. We're getting a little bit of a crowd in here. 26 people watching us. So we haven't done a retrospective in a while. I can't even remember the last one that we did, but it's the new Scream movie, which is just simply titled Scream, is coming, I think, next year. And it is the 25th anniversary of the original Scream movie, which is bizarre to think. And we've talked about this, that, 1996 is 25 years ago. Now, technically, it'll be exactly 25 years in December. And it's weird because I don't remember, Scream came out in December, the first couple, December of 96 and December of 97. That's kind of a weird time for a horror movie to come out, but it worked well for the first movie for sure, financially.
Yeah, I mean, 1996, I don't remember if a lot of people know this or even really think about this now, but this movie, when it came out, really saved horror films, because at that time, but prior to Scream, there was really nothing coming out for years. Like, the whole 80s boom had died down, and when the early 90s, there was really nothing was coming out. Like, you had horrible, it's almost like wrestling, the same kind of way. Like, there was a big boom, then a down period, and then Scream came in, and it made it popular to horror films again because of the way that the movie was set up. Like, they went back and talked about all the old horror films, which made people go back and start watching those movies again. And also people that had never seen them would watch them for the first time. And I remember, that was when we were in high school, and that time period was everybody got back into to horror films. that's just kind of what it did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. There for a while there, I got out of, I think there was a time period where I was hardcore, like this was a couple of years earlier, into like NBA basketball. I got hardcore into that for like a year and a half. And then I got back into wrestling. And then shortly thereafter, I got back into horror movies. So I can remember Monday Nitro, WCW Monday Nitro, got me back into watching wrestling. I only taken like a year and a half off from that. And Scream got me back into horror movies because it got everyone talking about horror again. The 90s throughout probably 1990 or maybe even starting in the late 80s onward, the popularity really went down. I mean, mainstream horror at least. And you got to think, I mean, we were kids at the time. We didn't have the internet then. I didn't, at least.
No.
So the only grasp we had on the genre was video stores and the movie theaters. So, yeah, we were sophomores in high school at this point, Uncle Bill. And this was probably around the time we were in library class, writing down tag teams and
it was, yeah,
everything. So, yeah, and I remember, well, evidently it was December. The word started to get out about this movie. And you said you saw this one in theaters. I don't think I saw it in theaters. But do you remember where you were at? You were down, was it the Strand down here?
Yeah, I remember like who I was with. Even though I probably shouldn't even say that, but yeah, at this point in my life. But I remember I went and saw it, and it was at the Strand, and it was packed, and it got like what you don't see a lot nowadays, which is the jump scares and things like that you would expect it to get in all the places. And when you walk, at least when I walked out of that movie, you kind of realize that you had seen something that never really been done before. I mean, well, I guess it had been done before, but we hadn't seen anything like that before. Like the first mainstream horror film that really referenced other horror films and like was self-aware and it was also like a comedy, which you hadn't seen a lot of to that point. And up to that point, like I remember this clearly too, before that point, everything in cinema at that time was action movies. And that kicked off with Terminator 2, which would have been 92, I think, 91, 92.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you had Speed and all that shit. But everything was centered around like action films. And then this brought everything back around to horror. So like before that.
Yeah, I think meta slasher or meta horror movie is kind of what it's called, because it's kind of like you're kind of in on what's going on. It's a smarter audience is what it was going for. And it references, it's kind of makes fun of itself. Like you were saying, they're talking about sequels and trilogies later on and remakes. So yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say people don't realize this, but because Craven wrote most of his own stuff, but this was not a Wes Craven script. Like he just directed this movie. This was Kevin Williamson, and this movie had been shopped around for a long time before Wes Craven was attached to it. And there was kind of a bidding war on it, and then he got it. And I remember this story too, because it's a great story, where he had decided not to do the film and had turned it down, and they were still like shopping it around. He went to a horror convention, and at that time, I don't know what he was making, but I think he was making dramas or something. Like he made it might have been Music of the Heart or something like that. That was like,
oh God, yeah,
like a drama or something. And he was signing somebody's poster or whatever, and they said to him, man, like I love your dramas and stuff, but you've gone soft. Like you really need to make like another kick-ass horror film like Last House on the Left or Hills Have Eyes. And I've heard him tell this story before, and he said, like the guy was right. Like he was so worried about what people were, like that stuff was too much for people that he just kind of backed off on all that. And, that encounter, I guess, sparked something in him to want to do it. And so he took it.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the movie as well. Like, I remember the first time I saw this movie, I'm almost positive, was rented it on DirecTV. Like it may have been January, February the next year on DirecTV. And because I'd heard hype for a while on it, since it came out in the theater. And then that opening scene, I think that opening scene got everybody. Because that sort of thing had not been done, where the killer was referencing, it was almost like a trivia game with Drew Barrymore, right? And then, she's like the star of the movie. If you don't know any better, she's on the poster. Drew Barrymore is the star. She's the big name, right? And she is, she's taken out within the first, 10, it's maybe 10 minutes, if that. So that surprises the hell out of everybody for the first time that had seen it. I don't think a lot of people really think about that now, but unless you were spoiled, by somebody that had already seen it, you would never, ever have expected that because, hey, it's Drew Barrymore. She's on the poster, she's the biggest star in the movie and she's killed off just like that. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, he took a page from Psycho and kind of set it up to where you think that Drew Barrymore is the heroine and she gets killed off immediately. Another thing I like about that intro to the movie is it starts immediately. Like if you remember the beginning of it, the phone rings.
Yeah.
She goes and it immediately starts, which was great. Like there's no setup. There's no, you're just right in the middle of all this by the beginning of the movie.
The movie is and I watched it today again for the first time in a while, actually. The movie is very 90s.
It is.
The credit sequence and stuff like that. I mean, it just screams. A lot of those Miramax movies or Dimension movies or whatever, for some reason, they all have that same feel. You know what I'm saying? Like the credit sequence and just the look of the movies. I don't know. I can't pinpoint exactly what it is, but I definitely noticed it through this movie, and it's not a bad thing. It kind of takes you back there, I guess, to that time period.
You'd like to go back there?
Yeah, if only for a day.
It does. I don't know how to explain it either, but you're right. Like something about how it was filmed. It's just like Lionsgate movies. It has a particular look and feel to it, and the dialogue and everything is all those movies have very, very much in common. But I mean, I don't know if you really want to go into the plot of Scream, because I'm assuming most people have seen Scream. So I don't know if there's that much of a need, but
no, probably not. I mean, just some interesting stuff about Scream, I guess we can talk about too. And I didn't even realize this. Drew Barrymore was only 21 years old when she shot this movie.
God, I didn't know that either.
So that's she was still, I mean, think about that. She was in E.T. and all that. So you would think that she would have been older, but yeah, she was just 21 at that point. And she did a great job in it. I think the whole cast did a great job in it, playing their characters.
She was originally supposed to be Sydney too. Like, and this is one question. I don't know if she's ever talked about this, and maybe somebody knows that's even watching this, but I'm curious as to why she turned down that role and took the role that she did. I mean, I don't know if she knew that would be a classic scene, or she just didn't want to be in it, or I don't know, for the whole period of shooting. I don't know.
It could have been like a scheduling thing too, because around this time period she was doing other stuff. I think it kind of revived her career a little bit though, right?
It did, yeah.
It got her back more, more in the mainstream. Cast though, like a lot of relatively unknowns at the time. Neve Campbell, she was in was it Party of Five was the show that she was in around this time? Maybe a year or so before is when it started. Skeet Ulrich. I don't remember seeing him in anything before. Rose McGowan was in this. Was it her debut role?
I don't know, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't remember these people in anything.
She was in Charmed, but I don't remember if it was before or after this.
I think Charmed would have been like 98, 99. So it
Probably
would have been after this. I'm thinking this was like her at least mainstream debut. Jamie Kennedy does a great job in this too.
That's probably the last time you'll ever hear that sentence. In this movie.
I loved Kicking It Old School, but it is what it is. Matthew Lillard also in this. Lee Schreiber, who has went on to do a lot of mainstream stuff now, is kind of a bigger name. Henry Winkler is in this. I just noted some names here there was one lady that was in this that I did not recall. Her name is Frances McCain, but she was the mom in Gremlins and Stand By Me. She was Deputy Dewey's and Rose McGowan's mom in this movie.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I was like, that woman looks familiar. And I looked her up. Yep. So
she had a classic role as the mom in Gremlins, where she puts him in a microwave and all that.
Yeah, and she relatively this was 12 years after Gremlins or something. She looked the same, so you could definitely tell.
You forgot about the WCW World Champion,
David Arquette. Yeah, Deputy Dewey, who he does a great job. That character, that's just his portrayal of that character is just dead on. I couldn't imagine anybody else pulling that character off. So there's a lot of good back and forth with him and Rose McGowan. He's like the older brother and all that, and she's kind of calling him a little nerd, pussy, or whatever in front of his boss, and she don't like, embarrassing him, if you will. So they have a good back and forth there. I think they had good chemistry.
Yeah, that was one thing about the movie you noticed too. Like, pretty much the whole cast had good chemistry. You had the Skeet Ulrich and the Neve Campbell kind of story, and you had the video store geek thing with a side story with him and Matthew Lillard and all that. I mean, they all worked pretty well off of each other.
Looking at it now, though, in retrospect, they don't they do this a lot in the sequels, but they didn't try to throw you too many red herrings of who it could be and who it couldn't be in this one. So if you're really paying close attention, you can kind of at least guess one of the two people it ends up being, for sure. So
I think, I may be wrong about this. I don't think I am, though. I think even back then, there's a scene in the movie where, and I'm assuming, like I said, everybody's seen this movie, but there's a scene where Skeet Ulrich gets stabbed, and it's supposed to be to rule him out as a suspect. But I think I swear to God, even when I was in high school, I was like, there's something odd about that scene. That is you kind of know that's trying to throw you off.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes back around,
So, but yeah, you were talking about, as far as the writing, Kevin Williamson, and it's been done to death at this point, like that style. But when that came out, that back and forth, I wouldn't imagine how thick the script would have been in this, because all the writing that was in it. I think the story was with Kevin Williamson is this was a movie that he was working on for a long time, right? And he'd been, shopping it around to a lot of studios.
Yeah, it had here's the thing about it. He spent a long time writing it, but when it came out, when they started shopping it around, there was an immediate kind of bidding war. So people that read it knew it was going to be something. It was Weinstein that picked it up because he just outbid everybody back then. Still kind of, until recently, still kind of did. And they had all the pieces, and nobody. And you know, it's weird that they got Craven just because you could, I guess, technically argue that that New Nightmare was, you know, a similar kind of concept. You could also argue that what was the movie that was? There's Nothing Out There. You could argue that.
Yeah, that was There's Nothing Out There and New Nightmare was the same year, right? Like 94.
Yeah.
So yeah, New Nightmare, that Wes Craven, he wrote New Nightmare, didn't he?
I'm fairly positive he did, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they are pretty similar, really. But
I mean, Craven wrote the majority of his stuff up until this movie, I think.
We got a couple of comments on here real quick. Mention them. John Creasap. I love this movie. When it came out, saw it and slept at my grandma's house that night because I was too scared to sleep at home. Did it scare you, or did you just think it was fun?
I just thought it was fun. Like, I don't remember it scaring me, but I was 16 at the time, so I'd feel pretty bad if I was like, oh shit. Like, because by that point, man, when I was like 7 or 8, I'd seen like Basket Case and fucking, you know, Dawn of the Dead, and you know, those movies that's the shit that scared me.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, this is almost like it's a mixture of a slasher and a murder mystery, really. Because the killer, like Ghostface, the look, you know, we'll talk about the look here in a minute, but there's not really a backstory to that character, not like, you know, Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, or anything. It's a mystery as to who this is. So that's another aspect of it that was kind of an updated version of you know, but I mean, it's still considered a slasher movie. I was reading actually on.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just reading on IMDb though that this was the highest grossing slasher movie of all time up until Halloween 2018. So just from, you know,
wow,
2.5 years ago.
Yeah, it made something close to $200 million, like worldwide. I tell you a cool backstory about that. That costume and everything. In the script, it just says like killer in I don't remember if it says like killer in a ghost mask or killer in like a something style mask. So it was actually Craven and the people on the film that created the look, you know, because the script is nondescript about exactly what it looks like. And I think that the original intention was to just have a mask. But I seem like I remember Craven saying something like, if you don't have like the full body thing, then you're going to know who it is. Like, you know, people be running, you know, with a certain body type. You're not going to be able to. So they came up with the cloak and all that other shit.
Well, the mask itself too, and this is interesting too, because I didn't really know a whole lot about this. The mask was a novelty mask that was for sale in stores before the movie was even made. It wasn't made just for the movie.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I wrote this down here. It's Fun World Fantastic Faces. You can look on eBay at this shit, right? If you get, I think the one that was used in the movie was from like 1992 or 93 or something like that. Those masks, if you've got one of those from like that era, you're talking about almost $1,000 you can get out of it on eBay.
Yes.
And these are novelty masks that was for sale in like freaking like Rite Aid, Big Lots, stuff like that back in the day, like cheaply made masks. And I don't know, I didn't never really hear the story of why they chose to just use something like that instead of having a team make their own or whatever. But I always thought that was an interesting, little story about the mask there, and it's still highly sought after because, like I said, I mean, it's kind of like, I guess, the Captain Kirk mask, but some of those are still around. You know, some of the original Ghostface masks are still around. I think there was that company made 4 or 5 different designs, including the one that was used in the movie. So
there's a lot of similarities between why that worked and why Halloween worked too. You had no idea, like, the motive, really. You had no idea what was behind the masks. You didn't, and both movies kind of like start off immediately into some crazy shit. But you know, in Halloween, you knew who the killer was. You didn't know why, but in this one, it starts off immediately like you have no idea, like what the reasons or anything are, or who it is.
Yeah, and this one kind of, like we said, it was another wave of Wes Craven popularity. I think somebody mentioned up here before. I haven't really been paying a whole lot of attention. Grande's Graveyard. When you think about it, Wes moved the genre along like 3 separate times, 3 separate decades. Last House on the Left in the 70s, Nightmare on Elm Street in the 80s, and Scream in the 90s. I think he's the only filmmaker of that era that has been able to do that, have a major hit in each of those decades like that.
I think he definitely is. If you look at like the big 4, you know, you look at Carpenter. I don't think Carpenter had anything in the 90s that would approach like that level of success. You look at Tobe Hooper. I don't think he had anything in the 90s that would approach that success. If you look at Romero, no.
Sorry. I know we pissed a lot of people off by really dogging the last, 2 or 3 Romero movies that he made. But come on.
I'm not even talking about the quality of the movies as much as I am the level of success.
Right.
You know,
there's no denying that at all.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's right, though. He kind of reinvented the genre 3 different times. And he definitely saved it in the 90s. I'll say that.
Something else, too, that we need to mention about Scream before we go on to any of the sequels is the voice of Ghostface, which they kind of explain it. And I'll demonstrate here for you here in a second. The reason all the killers sound the same is he's using a voice changer, right? But the voice of Ghostface is this guy named Roger Jackson, who does amazing job in this movie. Very creepy. The way that he says, you know, he'll say, "I'll gut you like a fucking fish if you hang up on me."
Yeah.
And they get back in and it's like, yeah, that's pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, the explanation at the end of the movie when, you know, it's unveiled who the killers are, they have, and I found this, Uncle Bill. I was like, I've got one of these. Where the hell is it? It is an old school telephone voice changer. And I found a battery for it, and it still kind of works. But man, it doesn't sound creepy. I'll demonstrate it for you here. What's your favorite scary movie, Uncle Bill? I want to know. Oh, yeah. Does sound frightening. I'll cut you like a fucking pig, motherfucker.
It basically just sounds like you with a horrible, like, robot, like, thing.
Hey. Hello. My name's Ghostface. You'll never guess who I am.
That'd be so awesome if that was the voice.
Uncle B, what's your favorite Sonny Landon movie?
Big Apple. Oh, God.
So, yeah, these little devices sold like crazy after this movie came out. This one right here is probably from around that era, from when that movie came. I mean, I've had it forever.
Yeah, I remember you having that forever is the weird thing.
And the sad thing is you really can't use it now because everybody's got a, you know, cell phone. So, you know, they don't work on cell phones. I guess the gimmick is, like, you see the other side of it, you just put it up against an old school phone and just talk into it. So I had a lot of fun with this thing back in the day.
But I got to agree, though, to say that, like, other than Drew Barrymore. Probably the best decision that they made in this movie was to hire that guy to do the voice, because that's like the most memorable thing. Kane.
It's gotta be Kane.
God damn. That's old school right there.
Grande's Graveyard. Sonny Landham versus Ass versus Ghostface. Book it, Vince. That would be good. It'd probably be better than what they're going to do for WrestleMania this year.
So, okay, what are your pros and cons? Because I've got some things that stand out now, but I mean, like, what do you think they did that still holds up today, and what do you think doesn't?
Well, I think it all kind of holds up still. I mean, the vibe of the movie, like I said, it's very 90s, so it's kind of dated, but to me, that gives it some charm. The cast, I think the cast are perfect. I wouldn't have changed anybody in that cast at all. If there was one way, I mean, if you could have given the killer or some aspect of the killer a backstory, like whenever Sydney's mother is murdered, like the killer's already known as the Ghostface killer or something like that. You know, maybe give it a little bit more of a backstory than what it had. That would be the only thing. But I mean, hell, that's almost nitpicking. What about you?
There's only one thing about this movie that always took me out of the movie. And I know I can't be the only one that thinks this, but towards the end, when like you find out who the killers are and everything, the performance by Matthew Lillard, he just goes so far over the top, and when he's screaming shit like, "I'll get a little woozy here, man," and all that shit, it's just, I'm just like, that is just way like overacting.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. That is kind of over top performance.
It just doesn't fit anywhere in the movie. Like, it comes out of nowhere. He starts doing that shit. I guess it was supposed to be funny. I'm assuming that was.
Yeah, I mean, you would think though, after you got stabbed 2 or 3 times, you would not be. I mean, you'd be pissed off more than anything. I wouldn't be acting like a fucking goofball. That'd just be me.
That's my only criticism of the movie, really. I think everything else is amazing.
Yeah, especially, I mean, I love the video store scene too, and I was watching that today. Even though it looks like a fucking Blockbuster, which I was never a big fan of Blockbuster videos, which good buddy of ours, Scab Boy, was posting about this, and this is true too. 90s kids get nostalgic for Blockbuster. 80s kids still fucking hate Blockbuster, and that's true because it knocked the New World Video and the Jenny Wiley videos out of business. So
that's what I was
glad.
thinking.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad Blockbuster's gone.
But you ain't lived till you've been in a single wide trailer that's been converted into a New World Video.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that was the real shit, because video stores back in, the mom and pop days, you'd see make them die slowly in the damn video store. You'd never see that in a Blockbuster.
No, they had so much shit like that was crazy.
But I did kind of like seeing the video store, the scene with Jamie Kennedy and Matthew Lillard there.
It's a great scene. Yeah, I mean, people forget too how brutal the opening scene of that movie was, but that's another great scene.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I mean, there had to be a sequel. You knew there was going to be a sequel. And I think by that point, so what year did Scream 2 come out?
Scream 2 came out less than a year later. It was December 12th of 97.
So I'm trying to think of it. I mean, that's pretty fucking quick.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that one in the theater?
I did. I saw that one. That was one of the early movies that I saw at the Riverfield 10 in Pikeville. I remember this not vividly because Timmy, one of her buddies, I went to see it with him. He was big into horror movies around this time period. And he had just got his driver's license. And we had went to the brand new Walmart Supercenter right after the show. And he locked his keys in his fucking car. And we were wandering around forever. He didn't want to call his dad or anything because he locked his keys in his car before and was scared his dad would, smack him or something. I don't know. But yeah, I always remember that. But yeah, we did see that one theatrically, and it was a packed theater too. I remember that.
So here's what I'm going to say too. Like, I think that the opening scene of that movie, I won't say it's as good as the first one because I don't think it is, but it's up there, man. Like in terms of openings to horror films, like it's got to be up there. Like they really went out of their way to try to make something as memorable as the first one.
I guess the opening scene in this one is the movie that's made about the events that happened in the first Scream, which it's Stab. And it's Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett at the time. I don't think she was affiliated with, the Fresh Prince at that point. And Omar Epps were, I guess, the stars of this opening part or whatever. And it kind of kickstarts the whole Stab sub movie within a movie series of, just whatever. It is what it is. We'll continue to talk about the Stab franchise as the show goes on. But I think it was a great opening. I mean, it was a great sequel to me. I think it's the only one that I think is universally praised. The only sequel to Scream movies that seems to be loved. It was pretty good at least.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing this in the theater, and I thought that opening was amazing, and I also thought the ending, like I totally 100% didn't see that coming, and I don't really know how you fucking could. Like, if you guessed who the killer was, or killers in this case, in the end of this one, then you're a fucking genius because
you're just fantastic.
Yeah,
that's all we'll say.
In this one, if you remember, she goes to college.
Oh, it's like Uncle Bill goes to college.
This is Sydney goes to college, and she meets Jerry O'Connell for some fucking reason. The kid from Stand By Me, who, by the way, is my least favorite part of this movie. Like, I don't know why, but he's another one that's like completely out of place in the movie. I can't tell you what it is that I hate about him or that character, but it's just hard to watch the scenes with him and her and the fraternity and all that shit. And I'm just like, that's the only thing
he sings to her or something like that. That's just weirdly, really, I just can't imagine, like, I don't know. I was like, who booked this shit basically?
Yeah. It's such like, I remember like marking out for that scene when I first saw it for some reason. I don't know why, but
you thought he was being romantic.
I thought it was an awesome scene. And then I went, you go back and watch it and you're like, my God, man, that is fucking horrible. And just completely like, I don't know, changes the tone of everything. Like, I don't know, just a bad scene. Bad placement.
Interesting cast though. I did write all these people down. Timothy Oliphant, who went on, he's done all kinds of shit. Sarah Michelle Gellar is in this. One of your favorites, I know, even though you used to hide all of your Buffy the Vampire Slayer seasons back in the day.
I love Buffy.
Rebecca Gayheart, who is a fellow creepy Kentuckian who's out of the business now. I don't believe she's doing anything anymore. Laurie Metcalf from Roseanne is in this.
I love that fact too.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that's just the greatest casting choice.
So yeah. And also, like, I thought this was kind of interesting too to think about. You had the same year, this same year, 1997, I Know What You Did Last Summer, which Sarah Michelle Gellar was in, and Urban Legend, which Rebecca Gayheart was in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I was trying to think of. Is like, I know that all the copies started right after Scream, but I was trying to think, was there anything that came between Scream and Scream 2 that was like one of the clones? I guess they did.
I think I'm just going by memory here. Somebody can look this up and let us know for sure. I Know What You Did Last Summer, I'm almost positive was released in the summer of 97. And then Urban Legend was probably early fall. I know. Well, you got to think this was December of 97. So odds are both of those came out before, Scream 2. But yeah, those were the first two of the copycat Scream movies, which, Scream kind of saved the genre. And then there for a year or two, it almost kind of killed it as well, because there were, Jesus Christ, there's so many of these, copycat movies for years, really, for 4 or 5 years after the first movie came out.
Yeah, none of them were anywhere near, like, have anywhere near the level of kind of like creativity or direction that Scream had. And not really, or even really Scream 2, come to think of it, but
no, I mean, those two in particular weren't horrible or anything, but then you would get stuff, like Soul Survivor was another one that came out around that time. I don't know. There's plenty of it. Do you want to know a secret?
Hey! Come on, come close. You want to know a secret?
Valentine is another one that came out. Like, I know a lot of people are jacking off to that movie now, Valentine, and I'm going to rewatch it at some point. But I remember it being a piece of shit the first time I saw it.
I don't know who the fuck's jacking off that movie, but it ain't
a lot of people are talking about it online.
It ain't no count. I'm gonna tell you.
And I remember, I am very forgiving when it comes to slasher movies, right? I like fucking Home Sweet Home. I have enjoyment out of that movie. And when I think a slasher movie sucks, it sucks. So, but I'm gonna try it one more time.
I'll tell you two words that will make, well, actually 4 words that will make you understand why it sucks as much as it does. Katherine Heigl and David Boreanaz.
He's got a bloody nose, by God, it's him.
It's a great gimmick. It's a shame that they couldn't execute the movie. Like,
well, the guy that did Urban Legends, the same guy that did Valentine. So he ripped off Scream a couple of times.
Yeah, he kind of made a career out of that. He fucking parked a cottage right in the Scream franchise.
You know what else too, Uncle Bill?
What?
He's Australian. Whoa!
Yay!
Okay, so yeah, you were talking about Scream 2, though. This time, Sydney's going to college, and she's got new friends for Ghostface to kill. That's basically it.
Yeah, and there is, here's where I get confused with the Sydney timelines. Is it this one or the third one where she starts to have like visions about her mom coming back?
I think that's the third one.
All right, because I was going to say that's creepy as fuck. That is actually one redeeming quality of the third movie. But other than her being in college, being with Jerry O'Connell, and people ending up dying like on the college campus as they're trying to get to her, that's about what I remember about this movie. It's got a good scene with Sarah Michelle Gellar. That's a cool scene where she's like a sorority sister that gets killed. And then the ending.
I can remember the first time I saw the movie, though, when it ends up being, what was his name in this? Mickey was Oliphant's character in this.
Right.
When he was unveiled as the killer, I'm like, who the hell is that? Because he's not even on screen. There's a long period of time there where he's not even seen. at all through probably almost way more than half of the movie. He's not even in the background or anything.
That's true, and it's kind of a letdown until the second unveiling, which is that it's what was her name in Roseanne? Please tell me. God.
Oh God.
Oh shit.
Vicky? No, it ain't Vicky. It's something like that.
I wish it was Vicky.
Hey, Vicky.
Oh God, what the fuck was her name?
Somebody knows what her name is in Roseanne.
Anyway.
Let us know.
Anyway, Roseanne's sister was Billy Loomis's mother, and that's the big reveal. Oh shit!
Oh shit! Well, we didn't even mention this too. I guess the reasoning that Billy had to come after Sydney and her mother before is didn't his dad cheat on with Sydney's mom or something like that?
That was the plot point. Yeah.
Jackie. It's even better. How do we forget that?
That's true.
Damn. Aunt Jackie.
But this scene at the end, though, here's one of my only complaints about this movie, other than Timothy Olyphantastic doing the exact same thing that Matthew Lillard did at the end too. The only other complaint was at the end of the movie when the unveil happens, and there's a 20-minute long sequence where they're holding her at gunpoint, and she's running around, and then Gail Weathers gets shot, and then she runs. She literally runs from one side to the other side while she's got a gun on her, like she's going to escape, and then she finally escapes and starts the way that she takes her out is she chops the stage, all the props and shit start falling on her, and that's I don't know, I don't think I would have gone with that. It's just a little bit too.
Wasn't didn't they have Jerry O'Connell? He was tied up, and it was it was very theatric or whatever.
Yeah, but he does get shot, so that is one good thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I mean, overall, Scream 2, I think, wasn't cell phones the big they did a lot of stuff with cell phones in part 2 as well. It become more a thing than in the first movie.
Yeah, it was more mainstream, I guess.
Yeah, but Scream 2, I always liked it. Of the sequels, I think it is the best, by far the best sequel. There's nothing close to it, really.
No, because we're going to get into the two. Oh God. And
yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I can watch Scream 3. Probably less so than any of the other two, but
The thing about the other two movies, and we're going to talk about both of them, but they are unneeded, both of them. There's not really a point. And Sydney herself, there's not really a point. She should have been killed off in this. The best thing that I could talk about in Scream 3, though, is it is the Creed scream. The one where Creed is featured throughout the movie. I think they're in that one song, "What If I," is that's the opening scene where they I think Liev Schreiber's character, Cotton and his wife get killed, and it's it's kind of a weird song to be playing in the background, but it is a kind of hard, fast. It was probably one of the more rockin' Creed songs, but all I can remember about it is he just throughout the whole movie or throughout the whole song, he's like, "What out, what out, what out, what out, yeah."
And then at the end, I think it's isn't it My Own Prison? They play at the end.
What's This Life For? I think.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
What is life? Oh, yeah.
That is for hooray for the kid that lives on, or something like that.
Yeah, that's it. That should be the lyrics. Man, whoever
I think Hire is in this as well, isn't it?
That's what I was thinking. Whoever made this movie must have been the biggest Creed mark of all time. Every one of them, every song on there.
Wes Craven's like, well, I think those kids like that shitty Creed music. Let's just get as much of it as we can. Because he wasn't fucking listening to Creed.
No. Okay, so this one opens up with Cotton Weary, and like he's riding home, and then Ghostface calls him. He's got to get back to save his girlfriend. Goes back, and then he gets taken out at the beginning of the movie. By far, of those three, the least memorable of the openings,
aside from the Creed music, that's obviously
aside
memorable.
from that, it's definitely memorable. Yeah.
And Sydney in this one is a recluse. She's living up with her dog on a ranch somewhere, working as like a crisis hotline person or something, just working on the phone or whatever, hiding out from everybody. And I guess the other thing with this one is most of it's based around the shooting of Stab 3 and the casting. Like, isn't Lance Hendrickson? He's the guy over the studio. Lance Hendrickson's in this, which is weird. That's a weird.
That is a weird choice.
Yeah.
He's like the Roger Corman of which Roger Corman's in this movie too. I don't know if you noticed that. But there's
I think he's real briefly in it, right?
Yeah. So I think it's kind of a nod to him, that particular character.
This one too. This movie has a lot more comedy in it, it seems like. And I was doing a little bit of research on this shit. And evidently, like, they had changed the tone quite a bit, because just a few months before they started filming this movie is when the Columbine shooting took place.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah, I think that changed a lot of aspects, the tone of Scream 3. So there was a lot more comedic elements added into it.
Well, that makes sense. And I can't really put my finger on why this is like this is not as good as the first three, because it has all the tropes, I guess, of the Scream franchise. But for some reason it just doesn't work as well. Maybe it's the cast, like especially when they get into because they really get more into the Stab movie in this one. It's basically it's the centerpiece of the whole thing.
Yeah, a lot of it's pretty much all on the set too. Like a lot of the stuff that happens is on the set.
And I think maybe that's why it doesn't work, because that's the focus instead of the main characters that were the focus of the other two. Like in this one, the main characters, I guess, are more like the actors in the Stab movie, the director, and I think Dewey.
Yeah, he's a technical advisor or something like that on it, because they had to have somebody that was actually there during the events. And what I can't figure out is what happened on Stab 2, right? So why are they still in Sydney's bedroom and shit for Stab 3? That makes no sense.
That's true.
Not that whatever. But this one too, I'll tell you something else is funny about this one. I was thinking back at. So this was this was filmed in 1999, or at least early 2000. It came out in when did this come out? Okay, it came out in February of 2000. So it's shot in 99 primarily. The killer had this little machine that would take on other people's voices. Do you remember that? They changed that up a little bit.
Yeah.
21 years later, we still don't have that technology.
No.
But they had it. That killer got it somehow. I don't know.
That was great though, because I guess that was just a way to move the plot along to where it wasn't just that one voice. You can imitate anybody. But You're right though, that doesn't exist. It never has.
How would you program something like that?
I don't know. You couldn't. But I tell you another fucking odd choice was the kid from Can't Buy Me Love was the love interest.
Yeah, Patrick Dempsey.
Yeah.
The star of Meatballs 3.
Yeah.
Jenny McCarthy's also in this, and she's looking fucking fine in this movie. This was like when Jenny McCarthy was the shiz it. Parker Posey, yeah. Holy shit. Let me get to Parker Posey real quick here. Somebody said Parker Posey was the worst character in the whole series. I can't find it though.
She's pretty fucking bad, yeah.
Evil Brad. Yeah, she's kind of annoying for sure.
She is. Like, her thing was she was trying to be Gail. Like, she was the role of Gail Weathers in the Stab movie, and she was like that in real life, but she just comes off as really unlikable in that movie.
Anthony Luzzy, appreciate the super chat for $50, Uncle Bill.
Damn, boy.
Shit. Big money roller. He said Scream was one of the first horror films I got into back when my mom let me buy the Scream 1 VHS at Walmart in 2000. Keep up the great retrospectives. Yeah, I think Scream was one of those movies too when it came out on, like, there were only the most mainstream movies would come out on video to purchase it at Walmart around this time period too. And Scream was one of those for sure. I mean, usually it would be like Jurassic Park movies, Indiana Jones, stuff like that. But Scream was so popular that it was one of those movies that was available to purchase pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, this is the one that of the Scream movies that I remember being everywhere. Like Scream 3, like I can still see the covers and all that shit. And like it was out everywhere. Like mass produced out the ass.
Yeah.
But okay, so ending of the movie, we've talked about all the other endings of the movie. And in this one, this is this is where it really is really horrible. So the guy that's the end of the movie kind of turns into kind of a murder mystery. Like everybody gets invited to the house and the killer is going to reveal himself and all this shit and yada, yada, yada. And ends up being the fucking director who is the illegitimate love child of Maureen Prescott, Cindy's mother. And he's pissed off because she loved her and didn't love him. And he's going to fucking kill the world.
Yeah. I almost thought it was Sydney's second cousin, but when she said, I heard it was the half brother, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And this is the one too that, Grande says he loved the finale at the mansion. Yeah. This was at like I do remember the mansion kind of, but yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think that me and you actually watched this in the theater together when it came out. I think it was at like Riverfield in Pikeville.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely remember. I've seen all these movies in the theater. I do know that. Except, didn't we go see Scream 4? We did, didn't we?
We did. There's a dead pit on the road for Scream 4.
So that shows you how much that movie meant to me.
Yeah. But, like, what I was going to do is I honestly thought about doing this instead of watching Scream 4 again. I was like, why don't I just watch the on the road review for Scream 4 and take notes on that, because I don't know if I want to. But I honestly, Scream 4, we'll get to that next. I didn't remember one thing about Scream 4. The only thing that I recalled is that Hayden Panettiere was in it, or Penetrata, or whatever the hell her name is.
It's like that movie.
Kind of her being in it.
The best way I can describe that movie to you, though, is like it's somebody sprayed it with Pam, and I keep trying to like get it to stick in my head, and it just keeps sliding out. Like I've probably seen that. I tried to watch it like 3 or 4 times, like within the last couple of months. I cannot keep it in my mind. Like it just, nothing about it is memorable, and it's. We'll get into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Scream 4, 2011. So this is 10 years ago. And funny thing about this one too, we were sent this to review back in the day, and it had never been opened until just like 2 days ago. Right. So I wanted to showcase that. And even if I look on the cover of this, I'm like, huh. I really had no memory of this at all. It's like those Silent Night, Deadly Night sequels, like Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 and 5. You can watch them, and then like the next day, it's just erased from your memory as to what exactly was going on.
Yeah, I mean that's exact. And it doesn't matter how many times I fucking watch it either. Like I just. So here to.
Hey, but I wanted to mention though real quick here before we get into the movie. This is around the time frame when the Blu-ray and DVD studios would force you to watch these trailers that they had out for shit. Even if you bought the damn movie, which I didn't buy it, but I mean they don't know that. So I just wrote the movies down here. This is interesting. This is around the time when they were doing Dimension Extreme, right?
Oh God, yeah. That's what Inside came out of, though. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, well, there are a couple of good movies that came out of it, but most of them were like Zombie Diaries 2 and Children of the Corn Genesis. I had to watch those trailers, and they had the Scream 4 mobile video game at that point in time too.
Oh God.
I just thought that was kind of fun. Some of those movies, like they on like that Zombies Diaries 2 or whatever it was, that looked like something that would been, we would have reviewed from like Illumination Filmworks or something like that back in the day. Cheap.
Jesus, dude. Yeah, I can kind of remember going to the theater and watching this and being really, really hopeful and thinking it was going to be amazing. And here's it all fucking falls apart in the first like 10 minutes. So the first 10 minutes of this movie is like literally 5 different openings where you're not sure like which one is the opening. That starts out with like I think like different people in it include fucking oh God, the chick from True Blood, what the hell's her name? Anna Paquin.
Yeah.
Is one of them in it, and then there's like
there was one other... that I recognized that of course this is a lot of these movies that Sarah likes to watch. She was in I think she was in the Stab 7. Like it was one of those deals where it was like a double the first scene is a couple getting killed from Stab 6, and then there's another couple that gets killed in Stab 7. And then there's another couple, and then you're like, oh, is this Stab 8 or whatever? But it eventually goes into the actual movie.
Yeah, it's awful. Like, it just...
Yeah.
It's so... I don't know why, but it's just so gimmicky. And
it's like, stupid. It fucking sucks. Like...
Yeah.
Sydney is a fucking author. Yay. Why would we care?
Yay. Yeah.
Like, the Sydney character needed to die in like Scream 2. At least the beginning of Scream 3. And they need to move on from that shit because Sydney, that character has not been interesting since Scream 2.
No, they don't want to move on, but they want to follow her some more. She's writing a book. And
Neve Campbell's got Skyscraper 2 to do. She ain't going to fool with Scream much longer. She's getting some of that rock money.
I just remember there's a scene in the beginning too where she's at like a book signing and they find a body or something in her car or something like that. Or what?
Yeah, she has a rental car, and I guess it's the blood from the last set that were killed from earlier or whatever.
And then you kind of move to where she knows she's back being, chased again. So she takes up with her, what is it, her fucking aunt? Or I can't remember. Like it's her aunt or her cousin.
that Marine woman, whatever her name is. I don't know if it's her name. What the fuck? It's her aunt, the older woman, and then the Emma Roberts
is her cousin, right?
Is her cousin.
Yeah.
Did you know that Emma Roberts is Julia Roberts' niece and Eric Roberts' daughter? Did you know that?
I did know that.
That's some trivia for you.
Did you? Did you know that we were walking through a convention one time at Scarefest? And Eric Roberts was there. And this is when Tiny was like 1 year old, and he came over there and grabbed her and like started playing with her and shit. He's like,
I remember that picture. Yeah, I remember y'all took a picture of it.
So that guy's awesome. He was in Best of the Best too. So
he was, and he was the Coca-Cola kid. Who could forget that?
But anyway, there's you're right though. Like there's some pretty big stars for the time in this. You had Emma Roberts, you had Hayden Panton to whatever Airy.
Hayden Penetrator. That's what we could call him.
That's right.
That'd be a good way to say it.
And in this one, like they kind of go back to the whole like nerd thing because there's like an AV group of kids that are really into like the stab movies, and they're showing them, and like they're having a film fest and all this, and pretty much everybody in the film is like a horror nerd. And that's like the separate cast from the main cast, which is, Sydney and Dewey and all the rest of them. Which I'm
one of the Culkins is in this, and I didn't remember this either. He was one of the nerds.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's Macaulay's youngest brother. I mean, Rory
Culkin.
Yeah, I didn't remember that at all. I was like, I have no recollection of a Culkin being in Scream 4. Anthony Anderson's in this too. I did not remember him in it. He was one of the sheriffs.
Yeah.
Or the deputies or whatever. Who else is in this? I don't remember anybody else in this of any note, I don't think. They have have you noticed this is all the Scream movies too? They have parties in it, and there's always some sort of shit that happens at the party, and there's no exception in this movie. They have like it's a stab marathon, a stabathon, where they're watching Stab 1 through 7 or whatever it is.
Yeah, and in this one, they really take advantage of technology because they put little like webcams up to try to catch the killer and all this shit. And
well, one of the nerd guys has like a headset that has a camera on it, and he's like broadcasting all day long, which I'm pretty sure in 2020 you probably couldn't even pull that off.
No, but he does though. And
he does in 2011, boys.
Yeah. And it's basically the same kind of shit. Like, people get killed, the family members end up getting killed off, and yada yada yada. And you're trying to figure out. It's kind of a whodunit mystery. And I don't know why, but the middle part of this movie is the most tedious for me to watch of any of them. Like, you don't like any of the characters, the newer characters. You're not at all interested in the plot because it really doesn't have a plot. It really doesn't have anything interesting that happens in the middle part of the movie. And then you get to the end. The beginning sucks ass. The middle part's completely forgettable. And then you get to the end. And you tell me what you think about the end. I have some strong beliefs about the end of this one.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that the ending would. Okay, so everybody's seen this, so there's no point in fucking. I mean, this movie is 10 years old. If you haven't watched it now, I'm sorry. We're going to spoil it for you. But it ends up being the Jill character, her cousin, is the mastermind behind it all. Because she wants to be famous. She's sick of Sydney taking all the glory from the family. She wants to be the heroine now and all this bullshit. So she thinks she's killed everybody. And then she just starts diving through these tables and running into mirrors and all this shit for what seems like forever. Right. So she can say that. Who was she going to frame? The boyfriend or whatever?
I think so. The Culkin.
Her boyfriend, who has like the charisma of a fucking piece of toast in this movie too, by the way. I don't know where the hell they found him. He was terrible. But anyway, like they were kind of hinting that he was the killer throughout the movie anyway, trying to throw you off track. And then it was kind of like a restart. It's in the hospital now, and she finds out that Sydney is still alive. And then it just goes from there, and it's like, it's bad.
I couldn't tell you why, but I hate movies that do that, to where like, you think that there's an ending here, and then it goes someplace else, and they try to have an ending. And then actually there's like 3 endings of this fucking movie, And I tell you a perfect example of another movie that did this was the Black Christmas remake. The first one. There's actually 2 fucking Black Christmas remakes, by the way.
And they're both terrible.
They're both. I tried to watch the newest one, and I couldn't get it like past 30 minutes. But the first Black Christmas remake does the same type of shit, where you think it's over in one spot, and then they move it to another spot, and it goes on for like 20 more minutes. And it's just like, I guess that they were trying to do, like, in his mind, Craven's mind, he was trying to do like the most epic kind of beginning and end of the Scream movie. But what it comes off as is just like you're sitting there praying for both of them to be over with, like for the beginning sequence and the end sequence. It's just so bad and so dull. It's so kind of lifeless and contrived. And
yeah, I mean, you would think like it was a good, 11 years after the third movie that they would have come up, if it had taken this long, right? But what was interesting about this too, though, you got to think about this time period in 2011, everything was getting remade. So how many sequels were actually coming out around this time? It was kind of odd that they chose to go that route instead of just doing a remake.
In 2011, that's true. Because that was the height of like when they were really remaking the piss out of everything.
Yeah. I mean, as far as sequels go, I don't recall. I know that Rob Zombie had Halloween 2 a couple of years prior to that, but I can't really think of anything else. It's kind of interesting they chose to go that route. It's a terrible movie, though. Like, a lot of people say that Scream 4 is better than Scream 3. I really don't think so. I mean, they're both bad, but I think Scream 4 is far and away the worst of all the Scream movies. There's nothing even, I don't think it's even close.
I completely agree. I think it's the worst of the series, but I think it's that way because it tries so hard to be like, to be the end-all be-all Scream film, and it just, like, you didn't really need to do that. Like, it didn't need to take it so far to where you're just like, this is fucking stupid. And it really is the dumbest of the Scream films. And I actually like Emma Roberts when she, is the villain. I think that's a pretty good performance, really. But it's just so fucking stupid. Like, the script that they gave her, the stuff that she says, and the ending setup of the movie, and how it panders to the audience. That's what it is. That's why I hate it so much. Like, it panders so much to the Scream audience that it comes across as you're just like, it's fucking bullshit. Like, they're trying to make everything that you like about the Scream movies happen in one movie, and like not just one time, but like multiple times.
The only character throughout the movie, honestly, that I thought kind of worked and was likable was Hayden Penetrator.
Yeah, she is. Actually,
I mean, I kind of liked her, but Sydney, that character, and we mentioned it before. That character's done, man. I mean, what else can you do? Like, I didn't give a shit. Like, oh, she's an author. Who the hell come up with that? Seriously, I wrote a book.
In the next
I'm coming back to my hometown.
In the next one, it'll be like, she's a lawyer. She went to law school. She's a fucking lawyer now. No, she's a doctor. And like,
I represent victims in murder cases now. My name's Sidney Prescott.
Every single film, she have a new profession. I'm a fucking attorney now. And Scream like 6.
Jimmy Prescott, attorney at law.
And Scream 6, it'll be like, I'm a construction worker. I build houses.
I'm a custodial personnel. I'm gonna clean up your shit.
I'm hiding in this fucking basement of this school.
My life is went to shit, so I'm gonna clean up your shit.
God. It's
Horror Man says that I don't know if this works for me. Scream 4 gets better with views for me. I like it more each time I watch it. It is a bit over the top in some aspects, but it's a fun watch.
I swear to God, man, it like I said, the more times I watch it, the less I remember about it. It's like it's working in reverse.
Yeah, I mean, like luckily I took notes on this because I probably would have forgot a lot of what I did see. Any other aspects that you liked of it? I mean,
okay, I liked Kirby, which how many females do you know are named Kirby, by the way? But I liked Hayden Panettiere. I liked Emma Roberts when she goes rogue.
Did you like her when she started slamming herself on tables and busting her head open and stuff like that?
When she does the Ash from Evil Dead 2, yeah. But I don't know, man. That's about it, really. Seriously, like, I can't think about much more to like about this movie. Like, the other characters don't have anything to do, and they're just kind of wandering around and getting, some screen time. Oh, fuck, and I forgot about the worst part about this movie, actually. Deputy Judy. Now, if that's not
like her, Marley Shelton,
if that's not the most throwaway, ridiculous character,
yeah, there wasn't really a point for her to even be in it. She's coming back, evidently. She's going to be in Scream. Well, Scream 5 is just called Scream, so they're going that route. They're not doing I was hoping they'd call it Scream 5: A New Beginning, but that's not going to happen. It's just Scream now.
I think the only reason for that character would have to have been to have like a modern Dewey. Like, even though he's in it, like, she's like the female
Dewey. He needed a deputy because he's sheriff in this one, right?
But it's just another one of those things. It's just like pandering to and it's nowhere near as good as the first films.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't a point to do Scream 4. The only reason they did it was because horror was at a boom at that point, and they felt like they could. I think this one did really shitty at the box office, if I'm not mistaken. It really didn't do that well at all. I think it was the least successful of all the Scream movies. And that's kind of surprising considering it was a 11-year hiatus between the movies, and you would think that some of the people would be like, oh, there's a new Scream movie, man, let's go see it. But I think nobody really cared. No,
it's instantly kind of forgettable too. Did you like anything about it though?
I mean, I liked Hayden. I liked Hayden in it. She did a good job. She was the best actor in it. I mean, you could tell she did the most with what she could with that character. I mean, I like the fact that they did reference some, Suspiria and some other classic horror movies through it, and threw something out there for the hardcore horror fans. But yeah, it just didn't. Honestly, though, if you really look at it, like, the vibe from the original Scream movie was never replicated. Like, they couldn't do it. I don't know. I think the music was part of it too. Like, it seems that.
That's another thing I hated about Scream 4.
Yeah.
That's the only Scream movie that didn't have Red Right Hand in it. The theme song, basically.
Mm-hmm.
First three.
Well, it's a different studio, right? I don't know if it's a different studio, but it was still the Weinsteins at this point. Anchor Bay come out with this Blu-ray. Maybe that's where I was getting confused.
Yeah,
I wonder why they chose not to do that. So
I don't know, because that's literally like one of the biggest parts of the movie. So it's odd to me that it just doesn't exist in that.
Evidently, though, they have already filmed the new Scream movie, Scream. What do you think that they could do, if anything, to make this movie interesting? I mean, they've got some of the original cast. Courtney Cox is back. David Arquette, Neve Campbell, Marley Shelton's coming back. And they've got like a new group of teenagers or high schoolers or maybe college kids coming in there. What would be if you could write just a basic plot to what would make it interesting? Hit me with it. What would you do?
Well, there's a couple different routes that they could go. And there's like a discussion too that one, if not a couple of the main cast will be killed, which at this point they about have to be, right? Because they can't keep doing it. Like, I guess they can, because really none of them are doing anything else if you think about it. But it just doesn't make sense to have them keep. Like, there has to be something big that happens. Like, there has to be a big moment in the film. But one of the biggest theories that I heard that I think would be fucking hilarious is if it ends up that, like, Sydney finally goes crazy and, like, it turns out that she's the actual killer she goes through the PTSD thing and ends up, taking over, and then you find out that she's the killer, and then they have to actually kill her. That, to me, might be one of the only things that would make this interesting. It's got to be a big swerve. Like, they've done almost everything you can do in terms of, like, who the killers can be and things like that. It's got to be something big.
Well, I would think that they would kill Sydney off in the first scene. That's what I would do.
That's another kind of like theory that's going around too.
Yeah, I would because and that's the only thing that kind of makes sense if you've got a new cast, new teenagers or whatever else. They should have done it a long time ago anyway. So just think of something creative out of nowhere that she's taken out and the killer is going after new blood, if you will. Something, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, the only character left that they really haven't used for something like that, it turns out that, like, her dad goes crazy or something. And
they haven't focused anything on her dad.
Yeah.
Like, he was in the first movie and that was it, right? Was he in any of the other sequels?
I think he was, but I can't remember which one. But I think he's in the third one. Remember, because he shows up and he's like, you're like a ghost now and all this stuff. Like, it's like you don't even exist. Blah, 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 blah. Because she's hiding out and everything. So, yeah, bring him back. Have him be the killer. He's just like, I've had it with this shit. I'm going to kill everybody.
So, they're not doing Scream. It'll be end up being a 11-year hiatus in between Scream 4 and 5. So that one, I think that one's coming out January next year. Scream 5 or Scream. They could have just called it Screams and have the S kind of look like a 5 too. That'd work.
That would be a good idea, yeah.
But
I don't know though. Every reboot that I've seen, with the exception of like maybe one or two, has been god awful. So I don't have high hopes. To be honest.
Evil Brad, I'm just going through some stuff here I want to mention because I haven't really looked at the comments that much. He thinks that Jason Goes to Hell killed horror and Scream revived it. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's possible. That's a good theory. Because Jason Goes to Hell came out what year?
93?
No, I think it was dead by then, man. I think. Let's see. What can you think of that came out in like 91?
Yeah, I mean, there was like Freddy's Dead. That was one that was awful. That was 91, I think.
It was a series of like all the big franchise movies had horrible films around that time. If you think about it,
Mhm.
Halloween 5 and fucking Freddy's Dead, Jason Goes to Hell, like all of them, they just culminated with the shittiest like sequels.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I just think like the slasher boom of the late 80s kind of killed horror out, if you ask me. Like, I don't know if it's one movie in particular. In the late 80s, there was just so much of the exact same movie coming out that it was just overkill. And then when these movies started not being as successful, like, for instance, Friday the 13th Part 8 was the last one that Paramount did because it wasn't as successful as the one before that. And they just kept going, getting worse and worse. But that was just overkill, man. It was too much of the same thing, I think.
Yeah, I think it was just all of it. Like, it just all collided together, like all those movies and franchises, and people just got sick of it. And the films were awful at that time.
Do you think it could be true that Stu is still alive and maybe the killer in Part 5?
I saw that too, where they actually like bring him, or they had like screenshots of him being in the movie. It's possible.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Geek Room Life. I think I'm the only person that mildly likes My Soul to Take. That's probably true.
Yeah, I think you are.
Yeah. I don't think I would ever watch that movie again. I just remember when we were in the theaters watching it, and I was like looking at you. I'm like, is this? They made this.
It was that bad, yeah.
It was bad. Let's see here.
It's like saying I'm a big fan of Mortuary. I love it. Shit, it's great.
Y'all going to talk about the MTV series too? No, I've never watched one episode of the. I think I've got a couple episodes on the Vudu, but I've never watched it. So
that'll be the next show.
They use a different mask in that too, right? It's not the same.
No, it's not the same. We need to do that though. We'll watch every single episode of that show and then review it.
Review each episode separately.
Yeah.
God, I think I'd want to kill myself after that. Let's see here. Somebody has a long post here. The trick to what Scream 5 will be about is figuring out what the biggest movie trope from the past 10 years is. So we know that Scream 4 is all about reboots. And in the time since, the movies we've had Halloween 2018, which, storytelling device to wipe out all the stuff that we knew from the previous sequels. Yeah, I mean, I think what he's saying is here, I don't think we can fit all this shit on one page. But go back to the original movie, forget the sequels.
That is the in vogue thing to do right now. So he could be right, yeah.
Yeah, and they're just calling it Scream. So that's kind of what Halloween did. It's definitely possible. Let's see here if there's anything else I missed. And we appreciate everybody coming out. Is there any other questions or anything? Anybody throw them at us, and we will go on about them. Damn, there's a lot of comments on here. Aiden, he said that he really liked the Scream 3 soundtrack. He's a big Creed fan, evidently.
It's a great.
He likes What If. It's his favorite track. Hey, as far as Creed songs, I mean, that is like that's heavy for Creed. I'll give him that. The riffs and stuff. What If? Yeah! Here's another one from Aiden. Unpopular opinion: Scream 4 is his favorite sequel. I don't really.
I mean, everybody.
Are you just messing with me?
Everybody.
Evil Brad didn't like Hayden Penetrator's hair. I kind of liked it. I
It was
think
a
it
good
suits.
look. It was, yeah, it was.
Born to be Rad is admiring your Texas Chainsaw Massacre video poster, the media one.
It's over here somewhere.
Yeah, that's a good one. You know, there's one that's one of my on about posters that's similar to that, but it features other, like, it's really rare. I don't know if I've ever seen it for sale. I've seen a picture of it online. Other characters from other movies that media was bringing out, and it's similar to that style. So it's got Leatherface in it, but it also has, I think it's got like the Killer Santa Claus is on there. It's got the guys from Mother's Day in it.
So it's one of those like
is...
video posters where they were showing like all the different things that were out or something.
Yeah, the different releases from Media Home Entertainment. I can't remember the other ones, but
there's a ton of those.
That one's got to be really hard to find.
Like there's a bunch of those. Like I was noticing on eBay, they've got like a bunch of different ones that have like, you know, multiple. Like, there's one with the scanners poster on the front, and then they got a bunch of like videos at the bottom, and then, you know, that was apparently a pretty popular thing to do at the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of these, the thing about that makes these videos posters so rare too is video stores got them back in the day. They hung them up. They stayed hung up for a couple of years, and they got, a lot of them got thrown away. You know, they didn't produce these posters to be sold or anything really. I mean, it's just a promotional thing.
I like the video post. That's what I've been getting into lately, is trying to buy up the video poster B designs of a lot of these things.
Bradley Taylor, Scream 3 and 4 couldn't be as bad as both Rob Zombie's Halloween movies.
There's not even any comparison. No,
they're probably not that bad. Let's see here. I don't remember. I remember the scene, but I didn't remember if it was any girl in particular. Who was the girl from the video store in part 1 asking about the movie with E.T.'s mom? I think she was somebody.
Oh, fuck. Was she somebody? Hold on. We'll figure it out.
I watched it today, but I don't really, I didn't pay any attention evidently.
We'll figure it out together. Let's see.
Who was the E.T. girl that asked about E.T.'s mom in a werewolf movie? I want to know. I don't even know how you'd Google that.
That's Bonnie Wood.
Oh, okay.
Her name was Bonnie Wood, but no, as far as I know, she's not been in anything.
Yeah, I know that I didn't really recognize her in anything else. But I didn't really, I mean, I could have not been paying attention either, so that was just a real brief scene. So, yep, I guess that is it. Do you have anything else on here that you wanted to mention real quick, Uncle Bill?
Only thing I want to mention is that I'm still trying desperately to find a Scream original poster. So if you want to sell me one of those, anybody out there has one that they don't want, I'll be happy to get one from you. I mean, they don't.
Get Uncle Bill a damn poster. Man. Coming directly from Ghostface.
They're not that rare, man.
No,
they can't be. Come on. Sell me one.
If I'm not mistaken, I remember seeing a video Scream poster not too long ago at a convention.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that they exist.
Yeah, they shouldn't cost you $100 either. That's what they are on eBay or whatever. So.
That's the cheapest one I could find. Yeah, but no, I mean, it's a great series. That's what I'll end on to say is that even with Scream 4, it's still a great series. I can go back and watch these movies anytime. They hold up. Several of them hold up today, and it's just it's a pretty cool time capsule into that period of the 90s.
Yeah, they're fun to watch. I mean, I think so too. Like when we were that age, 15, 16, 17 years old, there's not a whole lot of horror films from that time period that you would want to go back and watch again. I mean,
That's
there weren't a lot of them were that, shot on or direct to video stuff like the Ice Cream Man and stuff like that's one thing, but there's not a whole lot of, this may be one of the only classics from that era. So it's always fun to go back and look at some of these movies. I think it'd be a good retrospective to do at some point, the movies that Scream inspired, just to go through some of them, maybe not review them, maybe review some of them. Maybe we need to do an updated review of, hey, do you want to know a secret? Come here. Get over here. Do you want to know a secret? I'm going to tell you. It used to be the thing we used to do all the time, just out of nowhere. Like, we would be in between recording spots on the show, because I've still got that fucking thing over there. Like, you would grab the case or something and just out of nowhere, like, hey! Do you want to know a secret? Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah, that.
Master Video could be working on, like, the 4K of that.
What's the other one, too? Was it Fatal Stab or Final Stab?
Final Stab, yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a good idea.
I think that was Canadian.
To do like the films inspired by Scream or some sort of, we're talking about I Know What You Did Last Summer and Urban Legend and what was the other one?
Yeah. Because you couldn't dedicate, you couldn't dedicate, I know What You Did Last Summer's got a few sequels and stuff, but yeah. Those movies I don't think have aged too well. But I wouldn't mind watching, Bloody Murder's another one that's kind of like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind watching some of them again, maybe. But Urban Legend, I remember being pretty good.
It's probably my favorite of the ones that ripped off that format, yeah.
Yeah. Don't want to shit on, Cousin Luke too much. Valentine's not very good, but Urban Legend was pretty good.
Wow.
Matt, we do still live kind of in the same town, kind of. Also, though, I just wanted to mention real quick, there's a lot of shit up on the Patreon side. If you haven't checked it out, we did a midweek obliteration that's completely free. You can check that out. And we also have this past Thursday uploaded up to the first 100 episodes of DEADPIT Radio. So it began from December of 2005, and now we're in December of 2007. And that was 100 episodes.
A lot of shows. We did a lot of shows.
And then I think we're at like 60 some MySpace shows at this point. And 41 or 42 audio commentaries. And there's a lot more shit that we're going to add. So if you want to check that stuff out, I try to get stuff up there a couple of times a week. And it starts at like $1 and you can go up to, we did add 2 more baller and shot caller tiers, kind of silently. But they're up there if anybody wants to, engage us that way, because there was one movie that I've already watched. Yeah. Engage with the pit. One Cut of the Dead was one that I'd watched earlier this week. And that was one that our buddy Anthony requested. That's a Japanese movie. So I felt like it was back in the 90s and I was watching, All Japan Pro Wrestling. Mitsuharu Misawa versus Tobioki Kabashi or whatever the hell his name was. I felt like I was, just because that Japan fancy Hadouken talk shit, egg roll.
And then, did you say the other one, which I'm actually looking forward to this, just because I want to see what it's like, is, what is it called, Verotica?
Yeah, it's Glenn Danzig's Verotica. That's the other one for this month. The the Patreon reviews. And we should do another one just for fun. I don't know what we'll do, but we should do another one.
We've had some pretty good ones on there, actually. Like some films that I probably would have never seen had it not been for that. So hopefully that streak keeps up.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy doing that. That's one of my favorite things with the patron, aspect of it is, and we also added too, that if you, because most of these guys have stayed with us from the beginning on this baller and shot caller tier, that if you wanted to request like a topic for one of these shows or something like that, that'd be another thing that you could do. If you didn't have a movie to review, that'd be kind of cool too.
Wow. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we've had a pretty good crowd in here tonight. We appreciate you guys joining us. And I guess we'll get rolling off here. We've been here almost 2 hours. Sarah's going to cuss me all to hell.
Me too.
Just want you to know.
Not Sarah, but I'm in trouble.
Yeah. What the fuck you been doing in there?
Playing with my bird.
But yeah, we appreciate everybody checking us out. And check out the Patreon page. Check us out, DEADPIT.com. We got a bunch of stuff planned coming up. I found another hard drive full of shit. I've showed Uncle Bill some of it. It's going to be great. We're going to put it on there.
You got more like fucking found hard drive footage than that guy from Saw. We used to have people dick hole stuff.
That's right. Well, yeah, this last one, I did pull it out of my dick hole. It was one that I had back in there. That,
it was sewn into your balls. Oh.
But yeah, a lot of old video review stuff that had never been put up on YouTube or anything. So we put some of that stuff up there eventually. And then we're going to be doing some more podcasts and stuff like that too. So we may even put this up as a podcast, Uncle Bill. Fuck it.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So until next time, I am the Creepy Kentuckian.
And I'm Uncle Bill.
Check us out over at DEADPIT.
Come here. Let me tell you what it is. .com.
Yeah, come back now. Yeah.
Bye.
Hello.